I feel like I should come through the softbox, but I'm just more than just slightly afraid of you, so I'm not going to do that. Hi. Hi, I'm Jeremy. You know, that's actually not too bad. Whatever. You do whatever you want with the lights. I'm glad you guys came, I'm glad you guys had me come. Like Brian said at the beginning of the meeting, I actually used to be an IFC member, like back 2001 to 2003. I was sitting out there, you know, doing shameless self-promotion and all that stuff for the longest time, and now I have like a half hour of your undivided attention to shamelessly self-promote. So that's really, take notes, because that's how you should probably be doing it. I see like 3 faces up here that, you know, look familiar to me from back then, but other than that, everybody's new. But thanks for coming. We're going to talk about how to be creative. You know, this whole thing started out as a lecture that I gave to the advertising students at the University of Mizzou. And this is not going to be a class lecture. I've changed, there you go. Yeah! So this is not going to be a class lecture. I've kind of switched it up a little bit to make this a little more interactive and maybe more discussion based, so that we're not all just taking notes, because there won't be a test after this unless you count what you do and the things you make and what you choose to spend your time on, kind of the test in itself. So let's just kind of start out with a question. Which one of these guys is creative? Show of hands. Who thinks that a Mohawk guy is the creative guy? Okay, we got 1, 2. Sure. Okay, why not? How about guy over here? How about this guy? Mr. Glasses, dresses all natty. He's all, oh yeah, see? Now we're getting more hands.
That guy's a nerd. He can't possibly.
Oh, he can't possibly be creative. No. Glasses means that he's good at math and science, and he's not creative. Well, you know, only their barber knows for sure, first off. But secondly, I would place my bets on Glasses guy, mostly because I know who he is. I mean, and I'm sure everybody here probably recognizes who that guy is, right? Anyone? Anyone? It's John Hodgman. College students don't pick up on that, strangely enough. But yeah, he's John Hodgman. You know, he's the guy that writes areas of my expertise. He is the PC in the Get a Mac ads for Apple. And it's a well-known fact that he knows how to kick things off of people's heads. You know, so in a creativity steel cage match, I'm going to place my bets on him. Now, it's up here just to kind of say, being a creative guy, and I'm also kind of slightly, oh, he's gone. Shock the world guy. He had lots of tattoos, and I'm a little afraid of that too, because because tattoos do not make you creative. Shock. It's what you think about and what you do. People think that being creative is kind of like this gift, this muse, you know? How many people out there think that you're all super special just because you've got this creative gift and all that stuff? Okay, one guy, well, he's the guy that thinks that everything sounds good. You know, he's got the gift, right? Well, the thing of it is that, you know what, creativity isn't some kind of magical gift or some artsy-fartsy type of thing. It's really actually hard work. Being creative it's hard. And it's more than just going, oh, my muse, you know, Baudelaire or whatever, and writing down some prose and being all maudlin. It is about hard work. It's about having a thick skin, putting yourself out in front of people, getting your work trampled on and critiqued and working. So really what I'm trying to say is that creativity is all about having brass balls. So, you know, a guy, anybody out there know who Seth Godin is? Okay, a couple of people. He's like a businessy kind of guy. He writes books and blogs, and people like to listen to what he's got to say. And he says that creative people are people that ship their product. So, you know, and that's like the meaning of creating something and putting it out there in the world. If you're just sitting around and just thinking about that great screenplay, man, won't it be awesome when I make that great screenplay one of these days? I'm going to actually sit down and maybe write it, but I'm thinking about it and, oh, it's going to be so good. Yeah. That's not creating. That's just kind of thinking about it. That's just, you know, deluding yourself into thinking you're creating until you sit down and start putting pen to paper, fingers to keyboard, making the clickety-clack sound, you're not really creating. So another guy, another smart guy that I know, Merlin Mann, he's got a very strong chin. This makes him authoritative, and he says a lot of smart things on the internet. And this is a tweet that he wrote about a year ago. And it just says simply, creative work summarized in the time you set aside each day to work your ass off. Ignore anything that makes you consider stopping. So you think about the things that you want to make, whether it's I mean, it can be anything. Whether it's an Excel spreadsheet at work, or the screenplay for your latest thing, going down and doing your next revision on your edit on a short film that you're going to do for a festival. Just focusing on that and really working on that craft. That's creativity. Creativity equals making things. And I shouldn't have to tell you guys this stuff. This is the type of stuff that you would tell college students because they don't know. They're lazy, right? Well, it seems that most creative people, myself included, need a nudge and a kick in the ass every once in a while and be reminded of that kind of stuff. Merlin, the smart guy here, saw the original lecture that I gave in Mizzou and thought it was pretty good. And I was actually, and he's kind of a hero of mine, and he was gracious enough to sit down and do a Skype conference with me. And we made a video, and I put it out on Vimeo. And it's kind of, right, well, shameless self-promotion #1. There you go. You can go check that out. And we started kind of talking about what it is to be creative, and more importantly, what it is to just really fall flat on your ass and fail. Because that's one of the biggest parts of being creative. I mean, how many people out there have you failed? The guy who makes everything sound good, I don't think he's ever failed because it all sounds good. But no, you fail a lot, because otherwise, how do you know when it sounds good, right? Exactly. So you try it time and time and time again, and we kind of figured that there's almost like this process for being creative, and there's these modes. And this is kind of what we talked about in our talk, that there are these things, it's just kind of creative modality, and there's 4 different ways you could look at kind of working on stuff. You could be an explorer, an artist, a judge, or a warrior. And it's pretty easy to kind of get yourself into those modes and figure out what those things are. The explorer is this kind of person who is going out there and getting all this information. So let's say, you like doing documentary films, and you've got some sort of an idea, some sort of an issue that interests you. Well, in order to make a great documentary film, you've got to start knowing everything that there is to know about that subject to make sure that it's thorough, and it's well documented, right? So the explorer goes out there and starts taking care of things. And Twyla Tharp is a choreographer, and she wrote this good book called The Creative Habit. And she has this thing that she calls scratching. Whenever she gets ready to start into a new project, she starts gathering stuff together, and she gets a box kind of like this, except probably not as fancy, just a regular old banker box, cardboard box, and anything that and she just kind of lets the ideas flow over her and comes up with anything that might pertain to the subject at hand, whether it's DVDs, books, articles that she read, paintings, et cetera, and it all goes in the box. And she doesn't really think about it too much at any given time. She just kind of starts throwing it in there. And, and just letting it kind of percolate in the back of her brain. And as she's doing that, she gets the basis for her creative ideas. Once she gets everything that she thinks she can do, she gets into this artist mode, and that's obviously, how do I fit all this stuff together? I've got all this disparate stuff kind of out in this idea now, and what's the best way for this to go together, and how do I see this idea forming? Do you guys do something like that? I mean, storyboarding is kind of one way of doing that, especially in the artist mode. You get those ideas, and the ideas, they could be like treatments, things like that. And then you kind of just start putting it all together and letting it gel. It's obviously not your screenplay. It's not the rough cut of your movie. It's not any of that stuff. It's just kind of, the beginning of how this all goes together. So at this point, you really kind of stop trying to come up with more information, because if you're still doing that while you're doing this, then you're kind of going to get stuck in the mud. So once you get all that put together and you look at it kind of at that high level, you go into that judge mode and you think, is this any good? Is what I'm doing, is it going to be worthwhile? Hopefully you're looking at it through the lens of not necessarily, what is everybody going to think of this? Not at this point anyway. I hope you're not thinking of that. I hope you're thinking, what do I think of this? Do I think that this is any good? I mean, because if you are already thinking of your audience right from the get-go, you're kind of going to set yourself up for a sort of failure, because you're not being true to yourself and true to your idea. So there was a guy who gave a speech, and there's a video, number 2. His name is Simon Sinek, and he did this thing called the golden circle. And and I come from an advertising background, so this whole thing had to do with advertising and ideas like that. And he was always thinking that a lot of people will come up with ideas and they think of it in this order. They go, well, what do I have? I've got some sort of product. In your case, you've got a film idea. You've got something that you want to make. So here's what it is. Now, how am I going to do it? Well, I'm going to get together a crew, and I need a young girl, an Asian grandma, and 14 feet of rope, and I'm going to get together on August 22nd. Well, why? Why are you going to do all that? I mean, I can certainly see that there's some personal value in getting together a cute girl and an Asian grandma, but why would anybody else care about that whole thing? So this golden circle thing, he suggests that maybe you ought to think about it in the reverse. Start here with why. Once you get your idea together, look at it and you go, why did I even come up with it this way? Why is this the way that I think we should go forward? And if you can't make a good, honest answer at that point, that's when you kind of maybe need to go back to step 1 and start getting more information and kind of going back into this loop again and starting over. So you keep on going, but sooner or later you can answer that question. Why is this worth doing? Oh, I've got an answer. It's good enough, and here's how I'm going to do it. You've got it all licked. It's ready to go. So at some point, you get out of that loop because you've got enough information, you've got everything that you need to know, and you start making it. But how do you know when it's time to do that? Well, obviously, there's always going to be tools that are better than the ones you've got now. Whether like he's got the Edis 4.5 manuals, but the 5 software. Well, he's got the better, but what could 6 do? And people are always going, oh man, iPhone 4, God, when that comes out, it's going to be so awesome. It's really going to change my game, right? Well, it's not the tools that make your ideas great. It's your ideas that make your ideas great. It's you and your work that makes the ideas great. So there's always going to be a better way of doing it. So you can't really put off for tomorrow what you could do today just because something else is on the horizon. The world's going to keep on turning, so your opportunity is going to be kind of lost to make something. I know when I was doing stuff in college making shorts, I was like, man, these are these fun things. It's really cool, and okay, so we had this video camera, and we would take it around to bars in college, and we would film people just doing dumbass stuff, and it was funny, people drunk and all that stuff. And we thought it was really cool. We were trying to figure out ways to put it on the internet, but of course this was back when there was nothing but dial-up. But we thought we had this great idea, but we didn't really do anything about it. And then like 2 months later, Tom Green and Jackass were on MTV doing the exact same crap that we were, going around just taking our cameras around. And so we missed that opportunity. So the world kept going, and we didn't cash in on it. And now I'm, here instead of, with your name here tattooed across my ass like Steve-O. But so on the same side of it, the world keeps turning and you can't do anything about it. So if you want to make something that matters to you today, Get your ass in gear and get on it. God, all this sounds so motivational, because, I mean, you can see that this was made for college students, right? Because they're lazy. They're lazy. And I just say, because I was incredibly lazy. Just do it. Just start. Just get on it. You know, and you've got a good start. You're here today. It's your first time. You're so excited, aren't you? I can see it. It's glistening in her eyes, guys. You need to take advantage of this girl right now before she gets jaded. Because I mean, it's just, the world is open to her. Well, I'll leave it up to you to make your own judgments on that. But, you know, you need to just kind of start on whatever it is that you want to do, and keep trying. It's going to suck at first. That's okay. You know, things didn't sound good always. Things sounded really bad the first few times that we mixed the audio or whatever, you know. But you keep going. You have a way of tackling things that you want to. And it's going to get better. Cocktails help for me. And eventually, it's not going to be so bad. So, you know, here I am up here, waving my hands, saying, you know, big loud words at you about all this stuff. But the thing is I'm probably one of the worst people about everything that I just said, and that's why I get up and I give these talks, because I kind of need to remind myself that sometimes if it's worth doing, you just kind of got to get off your ass and do it, and I'm really bad about that. The successful people are the ones that work past the hurdles, and, you know, they just barrel on ahead. So, to me, what this group always was about was taking that big idea that's just been sticking in the back of your head and keeps you up late at night, and bringing it to other people who have the same passions that you do, and making those things a reality. So I know you've got a big idea out there. Some people have lots of big ideas in their lifetime. Some people only have, you know, 1 or 2 ideas in their life. And that's okay, you know. But what do we do about them? How do we know that they're big? Well, here's another guy with a book that I'm reading right now. His name is Humid Cloud, and he's got a really good book that's very, very fast, because I think that it's really just a whole bunch of blog posts. But it's called Ignore Everybody and 39 Other Keys to Creativity. And it's a very short read, and it's really, really good. And I was reading one just the other night about your big ideas and whether or not they're worth doing. And his whole thing was, you know, if you've got a really big idea, you probably are going to look at it and go, God, this thing is absolutely stupid. This is utterly moronic. It's a waste of time. But you know what? I'm going to do it anyway, because it seems like a good idea to you. It seems pretty cool, and so you're just doing it because it's cool. Now, there are the other types of ideas that are like, yes, me, I am the artist, and I'm going to bring this to life. I'm going to breathe my creative breath into its lungs, and it will come forth with a valiant cry. Well, chances are, if you've got to get yourself that worked up about your idea, it's probably not that great. And all of that to do is really kind of just a way to take those second-rate ideas and keep them alive, even though they're not really worth keeping alive. This is he's a cartoonist. This is one of his cartoons, and it's kind of apropos for what I'm saying here. So I've got a big, or at least I think that this is a big idea, because I continue to do it a couple of years now, and you know, don't really scream too. Do I scream a lot about this? Just okay. Well, maybe it's slightly second rate. It's a you know, when I was sucking at what I did in the filmmaking world, doing a lot of digital shorts and bringing them here and screening them, it was all about, you know, tiny little stories, and I got a few years into it and realized I'm not really that good at telling a story, a narrative story. They tend to be kind of weak and full of holes, and they're just not that put together. So I got to thinking, well, you know, I love making video projects. I love putting stuff out on the internet. I love helping people. So what do I do? So I've been working on this project, the cocktail napkin, number 3, and it's a video series that for the most part it's just kind of a talking head thing where I'm just sitting around, usually a little drunk, talking about things that matter to me in the creative world. Sometimes it's about advertising, sometimes it's about something I saw on TV, something, you know, I mean, it's just whatever. And it's starting to evolve a little bit as I've kind of gotten into the second year. And I'm going out and I'm actually doing interviews with other people and talking about their takes on creativity. The video with Merlin is part of the Cocktail Napkin series, talking about creative failures. And so it's just kind of snowballing into something. And that's another good sign of a big idea, is like it's starting to actually become something kind of bigger than itself. And hopefully, you know, my aim of this and everything that I kind of do in service of this is I've screwed up so many times in my life for various reasons, whether, you know, it be career-wise, creative-wise, you know, relationship-wise, whatever, that I feel like I could help somebody. If there's a way that I could get out there and I could say a few things that might save somebody a year or two of wasted time or effort or anything like that, and put them on a better path, then, you know, that's kind of what I'm aiming to do with the things that I do. So my shameless self-promotion is that as I am doing more interviews and stuff like that, I need people to do like camera work and lighting and stuff like that. So there will be contact information at the end. We should maybe collaborate. A big idea might be cool, but something that is cool is not necessarily a big idea. It kind of goes back to the, you know, screaming at the top of your lungs. And you know, I got to say, a lot of the stuff that I did early on with IFC was all stuff that I thought was really, really cool, or it gave me a chance to do some really cool stuff in After Effects or some, you know, some visual effects or stuff like that, but it was all just kind of eye candy. And like I said, I kind of realized that finally I was not really that good at storytelling, I was just good at dressing stuff up. So, you know, that's maybe something to kind of keep in mind. And so once you get into making something, you can tell pretty quick if it's not the big idea once you start getting used to the idea of this. And so, you know, and it's okay to kind of jump back into that judge mode and look at it, you know, why am I doing this? Is this still worth doing? Because there was a project that I came to IFC for years with a cartoon that I was trying to make, and like every week, shameless self-promotion, I need voiceover artists, or somebody who wants to illustrate some set backgrounds and stuff like that. And I was and man, oh, I was so into this idea, and I worked on it for 4 years before I just decided to completely throw it away. It was Tiki Bar. See, Bobby remembers. God, I talked about Tiki Bar. Oh, I talked about Tiki Bar. I finally just threw it away because I realized that it really, you know, if it was a really good idea and a really big idea, I would have been done by then. I wouldn't have been wasting 4 years of my life trying to just kind of half-ass it. I would have been done. So you know, something else is going to come along. And you know, if it's not a good idea and you throw it away, that's okay. Ideas are cheap. Another one's going to come along right after it. Next one might be the big one. You know, this did kind of turn into a lecture. I'm sorry about that. We can talk though. I'd like to talk. So, I mean, if anybody has any ideas, questions, etc. Like I said, here's a link. This is me. You want to take a look at the slides later on. The slides are here for you to look at. Let's talk. What are some of your big ideas? What are your thoughts, fears, innermost secrets? I don't know.